Hi and welcome back to another video of JPlay. I am Marcus and I'm terribly sorry for the long silence, but there's simply so much going on right now in my life. I feel terrible, especially for all my patrons and channel members. Really huge shout out at this point in time and thanks for all of your patience, but hopefully I'm back now. And I'm also getting somewhat ready for Essen next week actually. Already? Wow, that's fast. But yeah, today I'm basically having a relatively late look at the Red Cathedral. Obviously, you're looking at the German version of the game, kindly provided to me by Kosmos as a review copy, so thanks so much for that. So, as usual, take everything I say with a pinch of salt. This also does mean I do not own the expansion just yet. The contractor's expansion, I believe. So you will have to bear with me looking at the solo mode of the base game here, which I think seems to be pretty well designed, pretty straightforward to follow, which is always something I do enjoy. And yeah, that's basically what I'm doing today. Playing against, I believe Ivan is the AI in this case. From what I understand, there is some, there are a lot of additional things in the contractors expansion, and this also means they're adding more stuff for the solo player. Not sure if it makes it more challenging, more complicated. I think from what I read, there's one extra AI card or so that is being introduced. I don't really know. But yeah, I will set up the game for the solo mode and then yeah, I will simply start. Okay, and here we are. I'm playing on the basic side of my player board here. And again, as I'm using the German version of the game, I might use some incorrect terms. I try to stick to the English rulebook as much as possible. But yeah, bear with me. Already set up the board. These guild cards here, I think these are guild cards, are also put out randomly. Basically, this is where I'm not following the suggested setup. And here are the 5 AI cards for Ivan, also brought out in a random fashion, and I also assigned those dice symbols here accordingly. Let's have a quick look at our unfinished cathedral. That's what we are pretty much trying to do in this game, building the Basilius Cathedral in Moscow. There are setup cards for the various player counts, I think 3 for each of those, so the game will always look a little bit different, and also in respect to the setup of those skills. So there's really a ton of replayability in the base game alone. And there's one specific thing in respect to setup. Ivan, the AI player, already starts with one of these claimed building tiles out there, or building cards out there, which we are trying to build. They will always start with the building site where they would gain the most. I think these are recognition points in the English version of the game, and the actual victory points are reputation points. I think they did that a little bit better in the German rules, I would think, because in German these are building points, and the others I think then are somewhat of reputation points, actually victory points in that case. But I will try to stick to the proper terms here. And even though he got first dibs on those building sites here, I'm the starting player, which means I'm starting with 3 rubles. And again, I'm playing on the basic side of my workshop here. So I basically have a lot of different actions to do. For the most part, I will be collecting resources here. But in this case, as I do have some level of information, so I can tell when he's claiming a new building site, I see when he is moving particular dice around. So I get to, I think, wait for something cooler to happen so that I get more, let's say, crazy things to do. And in this specific scenario, this is really a very puzzly kind of game in the solo mode. It's also very puzzly when playing competitively, don't get me wrong. I have never played the solo mode before, so I'm really as excited and curious as you might be. I'm pretty sure most of you have already played that game. It's out there for quite a while. I think it relatively recently was published in German version. Could be wrong. I don't know. But again, I have never played the solo mode before. And also I'm not consider myself as a pro player for the multiplayer version either. So yeah, let's see how things go. After my, I don't know, analysis paralysis round, it's taken me a couple of minutes now to consider my life choices here, my options. I think it might be best to actually claim one of those building sites here. And again, and also something which I checked out, so what resources do we actually need for those? And these, I think it's clay or what it is. I think so. Let me check. brick actually. I think only on 2 or no 3 cards we need brick, but we need stone in a lot of these instances. So originally I was thinking let's claim this side here, but I guess this might be the better deal. I'm relatively certain that he will beat me to that, and then you are suffering some sort of a penalty if someone beneath you is finishing a section of the cathedral. But I still think that this is worth it, getting this resource here, or this extra resource. So I will basically claim my very first building site. So what will happen now is I will have to take this workshop tile or construction tile, workshop tiles exactly, and I am allowed to place this into my workshop. And again, now I have to basically think how soon can I use that. And I think one of my next action might be to go with a red die. So I will place this one here. I can decide to play it either face up like this or face down. If I play it face down, I don't have to pay anything, but I also don't gain anything from that. If I choose to place it face up into my workshop, I have to pay for it, but basically when I'm using the red die, I will get the bonus that's associated to my workshop here. So I think that might be worth it. Money can be somewhat tight, at least early game. Later on, there are some strategies which typically don't work for me, but I do feel like this might be the right choice to go. Over to Ivan. He will always activate his AI cards from left to right and will start with a workshop or with an AI card that has a face up die symbol next to that. And then we are starting with a somewhat of a, I think it's called base action or so, very reduced one. So we are basically moving the yellow die in this case according to the pip on the die. So in this case we are moving the yellow die into the next section. It showed a 1. For the most parts, Ivan doesn't get any bonuses here whatsoever other than those recognition points here, but right now there are only emeralds. Yeah, he is in theory collecting those resources, but he doesn't really care about what type of resources those are. So that's already basically the end of his, let's call it, base action. We will roll those dice. I will move them off so that I won't forget to roll those. We will flip the workshop tile here accordingly, and then we will go for the main action of Ivan's AI card here. And in this case, he will simply place 4 resources. Doesn't matter which resources those are. The rules suggest to go with the resources where you have the most of. And right now, I think it's totally bad. At least I think they're all evenly distributed, but again, I couldn't care less. I will simply go for those brick resources here, and that's basically already the end of his action. And again, this is what I really do enjoy, having in an eye with really streamlined rule set which you can relatively easily follow, and I believe that this is a job very well done. Last thing to do is to roll those 2 dice, and we will place them back in here. The order doesn't really matter, only in which section those are, and then it's basically back to me. I do know what he is doing next, so he will, I think he wants to place buildings to building sites. So the order of things in this case might be actually quite good, but again, it's my turn, and we will also see he will move the blue die out, but it's basically back to me, and I think that I want to move the red die here, 1 and 2, so I'm going for a resource gathering action. So in this case I get basically this resource times the number of dice that are in the section. The pips do not matter in this point in time, it's really the number of dice. So I'm getting 1, 2, 3 of those greenish emeralds. I think these are emeralds. So that's basically the core of the action here. Next, I'm allowed to use my workshop tile here, which I have, let's call it, upgraded. As we move the red die, that's basically the trigger for it, I get 1 stone, which I can place onto my workshop. And in case you wondered, yes, this space is heavily limited. So this is one of the reasons why you want to bring out those claiming tokens in here, because they will free up more storage spaces. And there are also very specific rules, so you cannot voluntarily, let's say, discard those resources here. For example, you have to either deliver them or you want to trade them later on, which is something that you are allowed to do. And on top of this, I can also use the influence cards. I think these are not guild cards, these are influence cards from the sections I have basically moved into. So those 2 spaces would allow me to mess with this influence card. So I could either pay 1 ruble to deliver 1 good, which I don't know is necessarily necessary, hahaha. Or I could spend 2 rubles to exchange any 2 of those resource tiles out here. Right now, I don't really know if that's something I want to do, and quite honestly, I don't think if I will ever do that. I think you really need to know the game much better. Or I end up in a situation a little bit later on where it might matter, because I do know he's moving that die, I can move that die, and this would give me, I don't know, the last remaining, let's say, wood tokens I need to complete my section of the cathedral or whatnot. But I think at this point in time, I'm not spending either of those, or I'm not using either of those actions. You always have to choose either the top action or the bottom action. So I could not spend 3 rubles to do them both. But yeah, that's basically my action already. We are rolling those dice again. They go in here. Again, the order of things do not matter. Back to Ivan. Again, we will start with a blue die, which is simply moving 1 space further. In theory, we can roll it right away. It doesn't matter. Okay, it remains a 1. And then in theory, he wants to deliver his building material. He will deliver the building material from this card. Right now this card is empty, and I believe that's nothing that he can do right now, right? So there is no rule which says if he can't do anything, he is basically getting 10 victory points or so. I think I am good in this case. And then it's back to me, and I'm in a somewhat of a precarious situation. In theory, I would have been in an okay shape to deliver 3 building material to my construction site here. So I do have the emerald, I do have the stone. Right now I'm missing the gold. And looking at the board state, I am not entirely sure if I will be able to get gold actually. Here we could gain other resources, but not gold. That's a bummer. But I could also sell one of my emeralds for 2 rubles. And in theory, I could gain 4 rubles from here. Down here, I might be actually able to get my stuff there, because I can exchange any 2, not any 2, like resources, so like 2 emeralds for example, into 1 gold. So that could be a potential thing, and then I would be really, yeah, I think I want to do that, right? Let's rush things a little bit. So I guess I'm moving the yellow die. 1, 2, 3 and 4 spaces over here. First of all, I will gain 2 of those recognition points, basically 2, the number of those symbols here. So I'm moving up the track accordingly. 1, 2. And you notice that these are basically 2 kind of scales on this track here. First of all, we have, let's say, the recognition points, and we have the reputation points. The reputation points, these are the actual victory points in this case. So I'm basically 1 recognition point away from earning my very first actual victory point or reputation points. Later in the game, you see it here moving from 39 to 40 is basically 1 step will also equal 1 of those reputation or victory points. But here I'm basically 1 step short. I will take it, this will happen. Sometimes you want to maybe have a situation where you're moving in here, for example, because there are free actions which would allow you to move back to the last let's call it victory point here in order to gain some rubles. But I think in this case I'm really okay with that. I am not allowed to do any special workshop actions here, because again I use the yellow die and have no yellow tiles right now in my workshop. But I will go for this influence card here. So I will spend 2 of my emeralds, and this symbol really means any of those resources. They have to be the same in this case, but that's totally fine, and this would allow me to gain 1 gold, which is moving in here. We can move this one here down, so we have also freed up some of our capacities, storage capacities here. Now I'm in an okay shape to take a delivery action with my next action, so I think this is pretty cool. Again, last thing to do is to roll those 2 dice, a 5 and a 4. Again, order doesn't matter. Moving back to Ivan or Ivan. I think for you it's Ivan. He will start with a red basic action. So let's move 1, 2, 3 spaces in here. There are no recognition points that he could gain from either the influence card or the space here. So he's basically ignoring that. Let's re-roll that red die. That's a 2. Yeah, I don't know if I like that or not. But yeah, let's see about that. Let's flip over this thing and then we are triggering the actual actions here, which says what it is, I think deliver building material. I think that's the proper one. So we are moving everything from here to this card here. So the next time we are triggering this action, he will actually have something to deliver. But before he does that, he will also claim an additional building site here, which might be important. No, maybe not. I think he's delivering everything to his current building site. Nice. Yeah, I think that's already the end of his action. Really, it's moving so fast. And as I still have time, I think I could get myself... now it's not so tasty anymore. Moving in here would have been cool to get those rubles, but then I would have also liked to go for this. So maybe, but I need the money. And the problem, that's the one thing I didn't clearly see here, was that I don't get any rubles from this building site here. It's a 7 recognition points, and on level 2 that's pretty solid actually. You see that here it's 4 only. So victory point wise or recognition point wise this is good, but you also want some actual money, so I guess we really do need the money. And even though it's really a subpar move, I think I will move that die in here. So I will not trigger this. And by the way, I have moved the blue die, and I think I have moved the blue die before. Because this is basically my quote-unquote die, it's the blue die, I'm the blue player, I could now spend rubles to continue moving this die around. I can only do that for the blue and the white die here, but I think right now I'm okay with that. Again, I will not do that, but I will simply collect 2 rubles. And by the way, those rubles do not go into my warehouse. This is basically an extra resource which I put next to my player board. Okay, I think that was okay. Let's roll that die. That's a 3. Let's see what we can make out of this. And I guess then it's again over to Ivan. Again, for his basic action, he will move the green die. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces ahead. Again, there are no immediate bonuses that he will get. Before we forget, let's re-roll that. That's a 2. Oh, the 2 would be nice. Oh, the 2 would be very, very nice, actually. Cool, I like that. And then for his main action, so let's also flip that, he will simply collect, oops, and I'm making a mess here, 4 recognition points. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he basically earned himself his very first actual reputation point, so he's clearly in the lead. Okay, but that's basically his action. Back to me, and I think we still have some time, and I do want those rubles here because this gives me some flexibility in respect to claim my building sites later on, because I also, again, you can always claim those sites and not paying money, but then you don't get the bonuses either. So in this case, let's clearly do that. 1 and 2. 2 times 2 is 4 rubles. Hooray. Again, we don't have any green die or any workshop that corresponds to the green die. So that's basically already the end of my action, unless I do want to spend some money here to buy myself some resources. And that's an interesting point, because right now I really don't know, but you also don't want to miss out on this. But if you don't really know what you need, maybe just preparing for this to have something available here for this might be the right thing to do. So yeah, I guess we are spending 1 ruble, and we can do that basically unlimited amount of times with this specific action. But I think spending 1 might be okay. So we are going for one of those amethysts, I believe. These are referred to, and that's basically the end of my action. Let's simply re-roll those dice, and then it's back to Ivan. First of all, he will move the white die. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Again, nothing to gain for him, so he will simply re-roll that. Okay, that's a 6. Let's flip this tile. So the next thing that he might do... Oh, that's a good one, actually. The next thing that he might do is he wants to build an ornament. That's now really a timing thing. I have to think about this for a second. But first of all, he will claim another building site. Normally he would, or his priority is to get one of those building sites directly on top of my thing. In this case, he can't. That's clear. And then I think he will simply go for a foundation piece in this case. And I think there is no let's call it little AI, which would tell me which he would claim. So I guess he will go for this one because it will simply give him brown recognition points. So let's play him somewhat cleverly. Don't know if it's a good thing or not, but he will claim this one here. He will typically not use those, or he doesn't have a workshop, but if it shows recognition points, he will immediately score this for one measly recognition point, and that's basically the end of his activation. Next, we will reshuffle those tiles. The cards will stay in this particular order, but the dice will be rearranged, so we will shuffle those. Then he will start to claim some ornaments, but that's something I may be able to prohibit, at least for one round, which is okay, I guess. Back to me, and I think I still have some time. I don't want to build anything just yet, and I still have one more round left to build this one before Ivan is building that. I think timing-wise that this is important. So yes, I will claim one of those building sites. I was very cocky around the fact that I don't need the bricks here, but I do think I want that white die in my reserve. So I guess we will claim this one here. So again, this will free up one of our storage spaces in my workshop here. And I think, I do not, I mean, you don't want a circular reference here, of course. Where do I want to put this now? I'm really not sure what am I going to use. I might go for, the red die is already taken. The green die might be good as well. They're all not bad. I could also go for the blue die. So this could be a potential thing, right? So yeah, let's go with the, blue die here, and I will basically pay 3 rubles for that because again this corresponds to my die. And what this basically later on means is if I use the blue die, I will get the bonus of the white die at that point in time. So wherever the white die is at that point in time, I will get that resource here accordingly. Nice. Before Ivan is taking his actual action, we are checking, does he still have face-up die symbols left? The answer is no. So in theory, he would now basically start placing those ornaments. The problem is, right now he can't because we haven't finished any of the building sites at the cathedral, so we can basically skip that step. So that's at least something. The next thing that we will do is we will take all those dice things here, and I will, I guess, a little bit off camera shuffle those, and then we are bringing them out accordingly. Now that this is done, we will do his normal turn. So we will start again here from the left. So he will move the blue die 6 spaces ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Again, he doesn't care about the resources. He doesn't get any recognition points in here. So that's basically the end of that piece. We will re-roll that die, and then he will simply gather 4 more resources. And I think in this case we may need to go with wood because everything else has been taken, and I guess it doesn't really matter too much. Yes, the resources are in theory, I believe, limited, but in a 2-player game it shouldn't really matter all that much. But yeah, that's basically his action. And I do know for his next action he will actually build. So I need to finish that section here before he does, because again, if you are completing something beneath anyone else, you will basically suffer the wrath of the Tsar or so. So in this case, I can do that. So we need a stone, a gold, and an emerald. We happen to have all 3 of those, but again, that was the initial idea after all, right? So here's a stone, we have the gold, we have the emerald. Hooray, we have built that piece. And I guess, oh, is it? Oh, maybe I was incorrect. Maybe that's the other way. Oh, I think, okay. First of all, I think before we forget, let's basically score those 7 recognition points. Those, the resources simply go back to the public reserve. The banner stays here. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's again a little bit of a shame. If it would have been 6, I might have reconsidered to move back to 1 space to get myself 2 more rubles. But moving 2 spaces back seems a little bit too much for my taste. But okay, that's my delivery action, and with each delivery action you can deliver up to 3 resources out there, unless you're getting something additional for whatever. No, I think not. I think the only thing where you can maybe also deliver stuff are through those influence cards here. And yes, I was correct. Or wrong originally, of course. In this case, I will steal him something, of course. If you are faster up here, everyone that's lower beneath it, of course, gets penalized. And in this case, you're simply checking how many basically foreign finished tiles are, let's say, above your building sites. In this case, it's only a 1, so Ivan is losing 1 of those recognition points here accordingly. And that's also making sense why he would move or would choose a building site that's on top of mine, of course, in this case. Yeah, but I do like that. Not a bad turn. Let's move back to Ivan. He will move the white die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces in here, and in this case he will get something out of this. So we are checking the section here. In this case, the influence card tells you can either gain 1 recognition point or you can get 2 recognition point if you have at that point in time basically all 3 sections of the type, basically the foundation, the middle part, and the, let's call it, roof or so finished. Then you would score 2 recognition points. In this case, he didn't finish anything just yet, so he will simply, yeah, it doesn't matter too much, collect 1 recognition point for that. It could have been more if there would have been more dice in that section. No, it's not. No, that's only case down here. But in this case, yeah, it's simply 1 recognition point. For his main action now, Ivan is delivering all resources on this card to his building sites. So we will start from left to right. This section will need 4 resources. Again, Ivan doesn't care about the type of resource. He will simply deliver the number of resources, which in this case is 4. So we are flipping this to the other side. He's only collecting the recognition points. Again, he doesn't care about the rubles, but in this case, this means he just scored 8 more recognition points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So already at 3 prestige points. And I think I have forgotten to re-roll that white die, but it's a 6 anyway. Back to me, and I think I'm going to move the blue die. Let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Moving into that section. We only have 1 die here, but in this case, this means I am collecting 2 brick in my storage. As I've moved the blue die, I check where the white die is, and because it's right next to gold, I get some gold. Hooray! Up next, I can consider if I want to use the influence card here, but I do not want to, yeah, trade away my 2 bricks just yet, because I definitely do need it later on. So I guess I'm not doing that, so I will simply reroll that blue die. It's a 4. And then we are moving back to Ivan. He will move the yellow die first, so we see that here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We will flip this one over. Again, he will next move this, so he will move all the resources from this card basically to this card. So he gets his engine definitely going, and he will also be able to claim those construction sites. So I think I have to do that as well. Yeah, I need to be careful. Did I roll the die? I don't think so. So let's quickly do that, and that's a 3. Back to me. And by the way, maybe I should have mentioned this a little bit sooner, but I'm relatively certain that most of you know this. The game will end once one player has basically completed 6 constructions here in the cathedral. Then everyone else still gets a last turn. Other than the player in the normal multiplayer game, that player would score 3 points. That's not happening in the solo game. We are also then doing some sort of, let's call it, area majority. So we are, yeah, I don't know, scoring each tower here individually and see who has more either ornaments and or banners in that one, and then we will score or will award that player that many victory points. The second player would normally get half of those points. In let's say 2-player or also the solo mode, this is only a third of the points, always rounded down, of course. So yeah, it's basically back to me now, and somehow I think I can do something somewhat tricky, at least I hope. So we're moving the white die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 into here. 2 times 2 means I'm getting 4 brick, but because I'm next to this influence card, I can basically trade all of those 4 in, and I think I will go for 2 stone in this case. These 2 don't need to be the same, by the way, but in this case I do want the 2 stone because I think we might be able to finish that section of the cathedral next. Yeah, nice. So let's park the stones in here. And of course, first of all, I would have been or needed to be able to place those 4 bricks into my thing. But again, you see I had 4 spaces here available. So again, no harm was done here. Let's roll those 2 dice, a 4 and a 4. Up next, he's moving the green die. 1, 2, 3 spaces. Okay, dodged that bullet here. So this could have some very serious points down here. So we are flipping this one over, and then he's simply collecting 1, 2, 3, 4 recognition points. Somewhere I read that someone was complaining that this game was too easy. He's already 2.5 points in the lead, so I'm not sure if that is true. Maybe I'm simply playing poorly, of course. Let's not forget to reroll those dice. And this space is now full, so I cannot move anything in here. If for whatever reason he would move, let's say, he is moving the red die actually next time. So in this case, he wouldn't move that die at all. Unless, again, I decide to do something different, which I might want to do, quite honestly, as I get some actual coins here. So maybe that is a good idea going there. I think this is good, because then I want basically taking place in all of these scoring things as much as possible. Of course, those will score way more compared to those 2. So every finished part of, let's say, each tower here would be 2 points. So that's 4 points. The winner of this right now, it's a tie. And I honestly don't know how ties are being resolved. I think we are getting half or so each of those. But again, he will most likely place some ornaments in there relatively soon if he can do that, and he will most likely be. Yeah, I have to think about that. Let's not get too crazy. So I guess, yeah, let's totally deliver 1 brick, 2 stone, and 1 amethyst. I guess that's the proper name. So we're delivering it here. Therefore, we are getting 3 rubles. So let's flip this over. And what's more important, 7 recognition points, moving us to 18. So almost there, almost there. I take it. Back to Ivan, he will move the red die, or rather he will try, and I think the rules are, even the German rules are somewhat unclear. If he would flip that tile, but I believe I have read on the Geek somewhere that even though he's not able to move that die, we are still flipping that tile over. So he will continue to try to bring out his ornaments. At least that's how I understand it. I think it does make sense to some extent. But for his main action, he's taking one of these banners here and will place it on top, basically above one of my building sites here. And it doesn't matter if those are finished or not. This thing will simply get removed from the game. He's not scoring or getting any resources for those. But right now, you see that for yourself. He is basically in a good position to deliver to 2 building sites. But no, right now, this needs a 4, this needs a 3. But I guess he will, no, he will, oh, he will actually always start from left to right, from bottom up to the top. So he will deliver 3 here, and the remaining one will go in here, basically preparing for the next build action. So I think the game speed is actually increasing. At least that's how I feel about this. But that's basically the end of his action. And I believe before I move into the next round with my next action, I will end my video for today, because ultimately you should have a good idea now how this solo mode feels. I basically played through 2 entire rounds. I am more than okay to keep playing. And then I think with my next video I should be able to finish my playthrough here. So let me know if you are interested in a second, I don't know, finishing episode of a playthrough of the Red Cathedral. If not, that's fully okay too. I really just received some other very cool games. A little spoilers, it has to do with a very popular computer game. Not fantasy, it's a medieval kind of computer game. Really was so looking forward to that. But again, I'm still very much okay and really would love to finish my playthrough of the Red Cathedral here. Just let me know, and I will, yeah, as usual, count your votes, your thumbs up, your comments, you name it, and I will, yeah, consider to continue playing. With that being said, again, another huge shout out to all of my patrons and channel members out there. You guys are truly amazing. If you want to support my little channel here, you will find a link to my page on Patreon. You can join me directly here on YouTube by clicking that join button down there. You can thank me directly with this little $sign for a small or not so small donation. Like and subscribe, leave a comment, everything helps. And yeah, with that being said, hope to see you soon in one of my other videos, and until then, bye bye.